Hey folks, Mike Johnson here. If it's got wheels and an engine, you're in the right place. On this channel, we dive into car repairs, maintenance tips, and everything you need to keep your ride running smooth. If you're into cars and want to keep learning, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. All right, enough talking. Let's get into it.
The proverbial 20 miles of bad road. The potholes are worth it, though, for the big weekend of hiking and exploring in the backwoods. Then you hit the sidewalk and the rattling begins. Maybe you couldn't hear it on the unpaved road, but every strip of extension on the interstate makes your car sound like a tin can full of bolts. There's something loose in your suspension. Although there's little chance of your car losing anything essential on the way down the road, chassis and suspension noises absolutely must be checked for safety reasons. Besides, who wants to drive a vehicle that sounds like it's about to fall over the curb? If your car has a lot of miles on it, don't be surprised if some of the heavy metal supporting it above ground starts to complain. Unfortunately, finding the cause of the noise isn't that simple. The dynamics of a moving vehicle, the complex nature of modern suspensions and the way sound resonates through the chassis and bodywork make it difficult to pinpoint a problem. If you hear a rattle when the suspension is running over bumps, you may have excessive play in a joint due to wear. It could be as simple as a loose nut on the strut, or something more subtle like a shrunken and dried rubber bushing. First, search online for your car's noise-related technical service bulletins, TSBs. These bulletins are issued by car manufacturers for known problems and often include options for fixing your car, such as redesigned suspension parts. There are several online sites where you can search by car make and model or VIN for outstanding TSBs. Alternatively, you can always call your dealer as they should have all the up-to-date TSBs for the makes they sell. Suspension rattle is a common problem that generates quite a few TSBs. Some will let you fix the rattle for free, while others may say that the noise is simply a feature of the vehicle and should be accepted as normal. Either way, it's a good place to start. Time to bounce back. The dry park check, which checks the free play in the steering mechanism, is less physically demanding. Ask your assistant to sit in the driver's seat, turn the key to unlock the column, then vigorously jiggle the steering wheel from side to side while you look at the steering components. There should be virtually no visible play. By the way, if you lift the car by the frame, the suspension and steering parts will be suspended at an unnatural angle, which can mask the play you're looking for. So place your jack and jackstands under the suspension arms or rear axle to keep the weight on the suspension components. Older rear-wheel drive vehicles with a live rear axle and coil springs may have what's known as a panhard rod running diagonally from the chassis to one side of the axle housing. The rod bearings are probably a source of thumping noise. Worn shocks or struts are also common culprits here. When the internal hydraulics wear out, the piston moves without the appropriate resistance and stops dead when you hit a bump. With shock absorbers, another thing to check is loose or dried out mounting bushes. A whining noise when you turn the wheel usually means there's a dry joint, probably at the tensioner arm or pitman. Another potential source of noise is the husky stabilizer bar. This bar helps keep your car level in a curve. The links that attach it to the chassis have rubber bushes at both ends, which can rot and dry out like all the other rubber components we've mentioned here. Unibody cars that frequently drive on salty winter roads can also develop rusty suspension pickup points. This is the worst-case scenario for these types of clunks, where the only real solution is a trip to the frame shop where new metal can be welded on. If this is your vehicle's problem, you've got real problems. If one point is rusty, the suspension point on the opposite side is probably rusty too. Your car may also have rust in other places. At this point, you need to decide how much money you want to spend on a slowly self-destructing car. Maybe it's time to send such a rusty car to the big crusher in the sky, junkyard. Other sources of noise sometimes, what you think of as suspension rattling could be something else entirely. For example, take the exhaust system, the muffler, exhaust pipe, and tailpipe, plus the catalytic converter. If everything is in the right place, but the brackets are loose or broken, it's likely that there will be occasional contact between these components and the chassis or driveshaft. Once your exhaust is cool to the touch, try forcing the system from side to see if you can duplicate the sound. A broken engine mount can also cause a solid thud. Motor mounts can delaminate after repeated soaking in hot motor oil. Alternatively, you may have just a few loose bolts. You'll notice this problem more often when you activate or deactivate the gas pedal, but it won't be detected on bumps. Restoring peace. Although we've seen people fill the gap left by a deteriorated bushing with sheet metal shims, or use a screw to tighten a bracket around a loose bushing, the only real solution is replacement. This may be more complicated and costly than you think, but it's worth it for the peace and quiet, not to mention less wear and tear on your vehicle. On the other hand, some repairs are free, or almost. It costs nothing to tighten a gland nut that may have backed off over time. If you tighten this nut, you need to put a drop of anaerobic thread locker on it to stop it backing off. Similarly, it costs very little to replace the shock absorber mount or sway bar bushes. In conclusion, repairing car suspensions and addressing rattles may seem daunting, but with the right tools and knowledge, it can be a manageable task. Remember to start by diagnosing the issue accurately, as this will save you time and effort in the long run. Regular maintenance and inspections can also prevent future problems, ensuring a smoother ride. By following the steps outlined in this video, you can enhance your vehicle's performance and safety. Thank you for watching, and happy repairing.